Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Legacy, Kennedy by Tricia Wentworth. Narrated by Jennifer Jill Araya. Prologue. 5 years before the culling. She was spying, but whatever. She couldn't help it her brothers were oblivious. She'd been doing it for years. James had been acting weird. He'd come home from training super ticked and gone directly to the gym. This wasn't unusual in and of itself. She did it all the time, too. But it was the way he stormed down there and immediately started pounding his punching bag. He was seriously pissed off about something. So she listened, hanging out in the kitchen and living room, giving him space and waiting for him to come back upstairs. When she finally heard him approaching, she quickly lay down on the couch with her book in hand, like she had been there the whole time. Like she gave two craps about this frilly love story she was pretending to be engrossed in. Like she wasn't about to follow him. But he didn't even see her over the top of the couch as he stormed toward their father's office. Well, that can't be good. She sat up, straining to hear anything. But after his knock, she couldn't hear a thing. So she got up slowly, ready to follow. Right at that moment, her mom came in and ruined her master plan. "Hey, Kens," she greeted her. Kennedy fell back on the couch, as if she'd just been repositioning herself. "Hey." "How was your day?" her mother asked, opening the fridge for some tea. Better than James's, I think. He's pissed about something," Kennedy admitted, hoping her mom hadn't caught her spying. She put her nose back into the book with the too smooth male lead. Okay, so she might actually like these stupid love stories a teeny bit. They grated on her nerves, yet she still read them anyway. And what did that say about her? Everyone had their guilty pleasures, right? Why? Kennedy shrugged and kept her eyes on the book. He came home mad about something, went straight to the punching bag. Now he's with Dad in his office. Oh, crap. Her mom froze, iced tea in hand. Then she shut the fridge door and abandoned the tea on the counter of the large kitchen island. That action should have been Kennedy's first clue something was going down. Her mother would never abandon a tea, especially a freshly poured iced tea. "Oh, crap, what?" Kennedy asked. But her mom wasn't listening to her anymore, or simply didn't hear her because she was already en route to the office. Kennedy wanted to follow, but knew it'd be obvious. Not wanting her parents and James to notice her and shut her out of the conversation, she forced herself to stay put and count to 20 slowly. 11, 12, 13... Sometimes she felt like her parents had too many secrets. Not from each other, just in general. Keeping secrets for the whole nation had to be exhausting. 19, 20. She slowly moved toward the office, taking special care not to step on the side where the credenza sat. It had a drawer handle that always jiggled when people walked by. "Let me guess. Cassie said something?" she heard her mom ask James. "I just finished basics. Why wouldn't you wait a few years? Why wouldn't you let us at least have a shot?" The hurt and frustration was clear in her twin brother's voice. What were they talking about? Something about this immediately bothered her, and her stomach began churning. They couldn't be talking about the culling, could they? They were at least 2 more years out. Probably closer to 5 than 2. Not that James and Kennedy hadn't already been preparing for it, but still. "It's not like that at all, James." Her mom spoke so softly Kennedy had to move closer to hear. "I just didn't realize I was such a disappointment that you didn't think I would be capable of leading our country." James had to be talking to her dad, since he wasn't restraining the growing volume of his voice. Kennedy had a feeling that if she could see James, he'd be radiating with anger right about now. But what had him thinking their parents didn't believe in him all of a sudden? Him, their golden boy. What was she missing?
You assume I don't think you are capable?
Her dad's voice again.
That's not at all it, James. Couldn't be farther from the truth.
James made an exasperated noise.
Then why would you call a culling before I'm old enough to qualify? Why would you wipe out my chances like that? I always thought you'd call it when Ken's and I turned 20 or 21. I guess I thought you'd want us to have a shot.
They were calling a culling now? Oh no. No. No wonder James was so ticked. She was right there with him now. Their parents wouldn't do that to them, would they? Take away their future just like that. She felt the air leave her lungs as if stolen from her body. She took another few steps closer to the partially open office door. Her dad's voice was calm and understanding.
Look, your mother and I are tired, and this recent issue in Kansas City with the rebels is proving that our job is not an easy one.
She zoned out the rest of what he said because she was honestly just so pissed. In protecting them, they were just going to wipe out their chances altogether. This wasn't making a whole lot of sense to Kennedy, and the more she listened, the angrier she got. Her mom's voice added,
Nothing has been decided. We just thought if we called one before you were of age, then as a family we could get out of the spotlight and find a new normal. One where I don't get daily reports and complaints on my kids, because everyone thinks they'll be the next president. The expectations you three have to live up to are nothing short of brutal.
Nothing had been decided. Thank goodness! Kennedy took another step forward. She was now completely ticked at her parents, and also half-ticked at James for not coming to her right away. This didn't just concern him. It concerned both of them. Well, all three of them, really. James was quiet, probably fuming. She heard her dad's voice again next.
It's hard enough to be your age as a normal kid. I can't imagine what it's like going through it with everyone loving or hating you because you're an heir. Everything you do is watched under a magnifying glass. Your mom and I watch you guys being forced into being adults because of who we are, what we do. We wanted to give you the chance to be teens without the weight of all these responsibilities. To be whoever you wanted to be, presidential family aside. I spoke with your Uncle Henry about this because he was in your shoes. He lived what you guys are going through.
Kennedy Grace, if you are going to eavesdrop, you could make it less obvious, her mom snapped, her voice aimed at the door. Oh, crap. She'd been had. But she didn't even care. It was about time she made an entrance anyway. A pissy one. That's total crap! Kennedy walked into the office with the rest of them. As she crossed her arms, her long braid fell back over her shoulder with the force of the movement.
Excuse me?
Her dad's eyebrows raised, and his eyes, identical to hers, drilled into her. She wasn't going to back down, though. Her dad was harmless. In giving us a chance to be teenagers, you are going to potentially take opportunities from our future, our adulthood. You'll be burning the bridges we've been working to build. To whom much is given, much will be required. That's what you always tell us. Who gives a crap about being teenagers? We want a shot in the next culling. We grew up knowing we'd have one, and now, all of a sudden, just a few years out, you think otherwise? Okay, so that was a lot of words, but they deserved every word of her rant. She stole a glance at James. She might be moderately mad at him for not telling her, but they were a team here. They needed to nip this in the bud. Kennedy looked both of her parents right in the eyes. Not backing down an inch, she gestured with her hands out. Of course we're pissed. Whether we win or even qualify is irrelevant. We deserve that shot. The scrutiny, the whispers, the comments here and there, we take it all in stride because being the presidential family is who we are. And we deserve a chance to carry on the family business, or all that scrutiny over the years was a freaking waste. James added,
If you want us to be whoever we want to be, why would you limit the field of options?
She'd high-five him for that later. Their parents exchanged a look, and Kennedy knew she and James had them. She felt confident they'd back down from the calling a culling cliff now. Not able to help the smirk on her face, she moved to place her hands on her hips.
Okay.
Their dad nodded.
So you'll wait to call the culling?
James asked, wanting clarification. Their father nodded again.
We'll wait.
James let out a sigh of relief, a feeling Kennedy also felt all the way to her toes. She was still frustrated with her parents, though. How could they think calling a culling now was even a remotely good idea? Her mom walked over to stand next to their dad, who immediately moved to rest a hand on her lower back. Kennedy hated how touchy-feely they always were, but only because she wanted someone to look at her the way her dad looked at her mom. Their mom scrutinized them with a half squint, like they were in trouble. Her tone went sharp as she said, "But no culling until you turn 21. I was 18 when ours started, and I can honestly say I wish I would have been a bit older. The culling is a process that will bend and break you. I hope you realize this is not an easy road. It's an opportunity that comes with a cost. You are not ready. Yes, you have 5 years, but don't kid yourselves into thinking you'll be ready, because you never will be." Kennedy studied her mother, considering the finality of those words. You never will be. They should have made her pause. If she had been someone else's daughter, maybe they would have. But she was the daughter of Reagan and Lincoln Reed. Never wasn't a word that frequented their vocabularies. To a Reed, never was more of a challenge and less of a threat. We'll see, Mom. We'll see. Chapter 1. 2 years before the culling. She tiptoed down the stairs and past the stupid credenza in the hall. It felt weird sneaking out when the guards who watched the manor knew exactly what she was doing, when her parents didn't. Her parents didn't care if she went out, but she liked to leave without them knowing. Or, more specifically, without her brothers knowing, since they would tease her even more about her boyfriend. She was always sure to take a guard, though, was always safe. The guards knew and could relay that information to her parents. But unless they asked, she was pretty sure the guards didn't tell. She had barely gotten to his place when Josiah opened the door, grinning.
Hey, you.
She smiled. Hey, yourself.
Took you long enough.
He laughed, pulling her into him and shutting the door before the guard followed her in. She didn't have time to respond before he was kissing her and running a hand through her hair.
Damn, baby. I love it when you wear your hair down,
he whispered. Thankfully, Josiah had his own place in Nottingham Point. It was only a small apartment, but who cared? It was better than going to the manor. She'd taken Josiah there only twice so far. And she wasn't sure why, but she just preferred to come here. Well, she partially knew why. Here they were actually alone. Hence, they could be alone.
I missed you,
he whispered, his blue eyes drilling into hers. She laughed. You saw me yesterday. He shrugged.
Still, work sucked. I missed you.
Josiah worked in the tech side of military missions, and she knew that hearing and seeing missions go wrong while in the control room could be tough. So could being the mission team lead, like her brother James. Both were two sides to the same coin. Different roles, but partners nonetheless. Kennedy had witnessed firsthand how the high stress levels of their jobs impacted them both.
How was your day, though?
He asked, his eyes still on hers. When they had first started dating, she remembered thinking that he saw everything. He was super observant. And she had to admit she was a sucker for those blue eyes, which were so purely blue, they hid the fact that his nose was possibly a little too big for his face. But she also kind of loved his big nose for that same reason. It was about the only part of him that wasn't picture perfect. She smiled. Good. The kids were all a little rambunctious today, but nothing I couldn't handle.
Better you than me.
Josiah laughed, running a hand through his short blonde hair and pushing the longer part on top to the side.
I'm not the best with kids.
It's just because you're the youngest in your family, Joe, she offered.
How many do you want?
He said, those blue eyes twinkling. How many what?
How many kids do you want to have?
He grinned.
I need to prepare myself.
What? Holy crap, that got serious fast. I don't really know.
Depends on if you're the next Madam President,
he asked, grinning.
Because you have my vote.
She rolled her eyes. No, it just depends. Yeah. Every speck of her future had a giant question mark dangling over it. She didn't know if she'd qualify for the culling. She didn't know if Josiah would either. Knowing his grades from when they were in school and how well he did his job, she suspected he probably would. And the cold, hard truth was that if she hadn't thought that, she wouldn't be dating him right now. She'd been waiting for her shot at the culling for as long as she could remember. So had her brothers. It was the reason none of them had seriously dated. Dated, yes, but seriously, nope. Because why bother? Yet here she was, falling for this boy. 2 years too early. He moved in to kiss her again.
I just want to make plans with you. I see a future with you, you know?
She nodded. Unlike her previous boyfriend, Josiah was easy to be with. He was her calm in the midst of crazy life at the manor. They started dating a few months ago, but things seemed to be progressing fast. He kissed her again and again, like she was the only person in the world who mattered. He made her feel cherished. He doted on her, always holding her hand or wanting to be near. She had turned him down the first 2 times he had asked her out. But the 3rd time, he had brought her flowers after a really crappy day. He hadn't wanted anything other than to make her day better. He saw her, the real her. So many other guys wanted to date her for who she was, an heir. But Josiah knew she was kind of a tomboy. He knew she was trained and talented in combat. Hell, he even knew she liked to read cheesy romances, even though she wouldn't ever admit to being a romantic at all. He knew the real her. He knew the real her, and he stuck around. One time she had asked him if her skill at hand-to-hand combat bothered him. She was pretty good at it, as in made-up moves her brothers helped her name good at it. Though she loved combat's physicality and its ability to enhance her mental strength and focus, it was also a source of insecurity for her. Most guys thought it was cool right up until she was able to drop them. Then they decided it was too manly for her. They threw out carefully phrased insults and suggested other hobbies she should be pursuing. Or they altogether steered clear of her. Their actions weren't enough to make her love combat any less, though. It just was what it was. Josiah's response, however, had been different than most guys.
I won't ever have to worry about you being defenseless. Why wouldn't I like that? I think it's great, Kens.
He could find the good even in her insecurities. His belief in her was definitely greater than her belief in herself sometimes. And sometimes it made her wonder about this thing they had. She had only dated 2 other guys before him, so she wasn't completely sure, but had she gotten lucky and found it this time? She was only 19, but that was older than the age her mom was when she found her dad. Had she found what they had? Was this it? The physical attraction was there. Keeping their hands off one another was hard. The emotions were there too. They were always thinking about each other and wanting to be together. Sometimes she had to pinch herself. Was this too perfect? How could she possibly find love so young, especially when she wasn't even ready for it yet? Her biggest fear was that one of them would qualify for the culling and the other wouldn't. The culling seemed like an eternity away, and sometimes she wished it wouldn't ever arrive. It was getting too easy to imagine a life with Josiah. And if by some miracle they both did qualify, they'd go after the presidency. Together. 2 weeks before the culling preliminary testing. Her tears fell into the tub around her, quietly plinking in, unlike the monstrously loud sniffing she had going on. She felt sick to her stomach, as if everything she thought she knew in the world was flipped. Like this was an alternate reality she was stuck in but couldn't get out of. She couldn't breathe right, not because her lungs couldn't work, but because her heart was busted. She wanted to fix it. She wanted the pain to stop. But the emotions kept rolling through her, rendering her incapable of doing anything but letting them leak out. Disappointment, anger, shame, despair. She popped the drain and turned the faucet handle to hot. Since her tub water had gone cold, who knew how long ago? She wanted her family to hear the sound of the running water so they'd know she hadn't done anything drastic. Plus, she wanted to stay in the tub a little longer and relish the alone time. Earlier, her family had kept checking in on her when she'd been huddled away in her bedroom. It was nice of them, but every time they looked at her with that same worried expression, it served as a slap-to-the-face reminder that this was real life, that it had all really happened. That Josiah was a jackass, and maybe had been all along. And that she was so not okay right now. For 3 days, she'd been dwelling in this reality. The reality of knowing what he did, what he said to some of his coworkers.
Pretty sure sleeping with a reed improves my chances.
And if that one wasn't bad enough, there was the,
I knew when I started dating her what that could mean.
Word had gotten to her parents fast, which led to the most awkward discussion of her entire life. When her mom and dad told her what they'd heard, at first she thought they were lying. Maybe they were just trying to break up her and Josiah for some reason, because he wouldn't say those things, would he? But after her dad brought in one of Josiah's bosses, who'd heard it all and come forward, she realized it had to be true. Josiah and a few others on the tech team had been talking about who had the best chances in qualifying for the culling preliminary testing. The guys were giving Josiah a hard time and telling him he was going to be dumped when she qualified and he didn't, that he was dispensable, that his time was almost up. Josiah loved to give other people crap all the time, but he didn't do so well when the tables were turned. It was something that annoyed her about him, something that had come up in arguments before. So she knew that would have irked him to no end. So, to save face, he basically told the whole world they were sleeping together. And yeah, they had been. But wasn't that their business, between the two of them? Because when her parents had to hear about it, then relay that information to her, just no. Nope. He would forever go down as a jackass for that one move right there. Talking with her parents about her sex life ranked high in the top 5 worst discussions of her life. She'd gone over to Josiah's house that night a wreck. Tell me you didn't say it. Tell me you didn't brag to the guys about sleeping with me, she demanded, arms curled around herself as she sobbed. To his credit, he did look guilty.
I wasn't bragging.
You weren't? Josiah sighed and reached for her, but she backed away.
We're 21, Kens, adults. It's a normal part of any relationship.
She squinted. Well, what's not normal is that you are dating an heir. An heir who is already scrutinized for everything she does while trying to live up to impossible standards. So while you get to look cool for sleeping with an heir, I get to look like a slut. Josiah shook his head.
No one is saying that, Kennedy. And I'm sorry I said that. The guys give me crap about you all the time. I was finally just sick of it.
No one is saying it yet, but they will be, thanks to you. She wiped at her nose. So I hope you feel better and your life is made easier by getting them off your back, because now everyone will be on mine.
Ken's baby, calm down. It wasn't that bad.
He again tried to reach for her, but she backed away. No? How about admitting that you were using me for the presidency from the beginning of our relationship? It was all a lie. Tears were streaming down her face. She couldn't stop them. Everything you did was to manipulate me into loving you, into staying with you long enough for us to qualify. That's what you were really after. It was never me. It was always the presidency.
Kennedy, stop. Don't overreact. I love you. You know I love you,
Josiah said. No, you love you. Because using and deceiving someone like this for 2 years is not love. She paused. And for the record, I slept with you because I thought you were my forever. I guess I thought wrong. Josiah started to look panicked, itching his head as if trying to think of some dumb scheme to get her back into his good graces.
Ken's? Come on, baby. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said those things. I was mad and said it in the heat of the moment. I didn't mean it.
She shook her head, her tears stalling enough for her final blow, like they knew she needed the strength. I thought I had it all. I thought I loved you, truly loved you. But you were a freaking mirage, Josiah. You made me see only what I wanted to see. I have never been so disrespected in my life. This is over.
It's not over,
Josiah argued, crossing his arms.
You can't just shut us off. This off. You and I both know it. We've been together 2 years.
No? Watch me. She'd fled Josiah's apartment, head held high despite her heart being ripped in two. The bathwater having gone cold again, she finally willed herself to get dried off and in sweats. Upon leaving her bathroom, she discovered her TV had been turned on and 2 unexpected visitors were lounging in her bed. Her brothers' broad, muscular bodies somehow made her huge bed seem small. Get out, she snapped at them.
Nope,
James argued. Nope, she repeated, raising a single brow.
Nope,
Eli agreed. She let out an exasperated sigh. I don't want you guys to do this crap.
This crap? Like watching movies together? Like we always do?
James asked.
You haven't been out of your room in 3 damn days. So we brought the movies to you.
Kennedy started to roll her eyes, but then stopped. She supposed they were just trying to distract her from her grief for a second. If it's a rom-com or anything remotely romantic, I will kill both of you, she threatened. Slowly.
Nope. Blood and action,
Eli offered.
Military movie.
Thank God, she said, crawling onto her bed and burrowing in between them. They didn't say a word the entire movie. And it was great. 2 hours of not having to think about her level of pain, or how to move on from her heartache, or how she could possibly heal herself quick enough to be ready for culling preliminary testing in just a couple of weeks. Thanks, guys. I think that actually helped, she stated, as the music at the end cued.
Wanna go egg his house?
Eli asked.
I'm getting pretty good at hiding.
She snorted. Pretty sure it'd get back to Mom and Dad. James shook his head.
I can't wait to get my hands on that little prick.
Kennedy nodded. I call dibs, though, Twinkie. Stand in line.
You going to come up with a new combat combo to try out on him?
Eli asked her with a smirk. Kennedy looked at the ceiling in thought. I think I'll name it the Jerk.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?